Welcome to Made for Mondays, the source for digging a little deeper into the Believers Church Sunday messages and finding ways to apply them to our daily lives. Together, let's take a deeper look and find a way to bring Mondays back to
Hey everybody, welcome to the pod. My name is Heather, and who's joining me today?
Hey there, Heather. It's me, Jamie.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. It's Joe.
Joe,
Yes?
we're going to get back to your outfit in a minute.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello, I'm Adrian. Let's go back to Joe real quick. I'm curious.
Yeah, that is a really nice jacket shirt.
Thank you. I thought you would like it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I have one.
I feel like
I like it so much, I bought one.
Yeah, it's my Jamie
I
jacket.
Before
feel
you
like
got one.
you actually copied Senior
Hey,
Pastor
look,
Jamie Stewart.
I threw a comment out there to my family, and I really like this jacket he was wearing one Sunday. And my mom, love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really nice.
Yeah, I opened it. I was like, okay, the exact same one.
The exact
The brand is
But that's what
vintage,
I'm saying. You got style.
Yeah, I got it from-
weatherproof.
I got it
If
from
anybody
Men's
else
Wearhouse.
Yeah.
wants to get on the train, starting a phenomenon.
So here I
Right.
am. Yeah.
Yeah, so please, we talked about this earlier. In order to avoid a really awkward Sunday, if we're wearing it on a Sunday, we need to text each
Yeah.
other.
We'll
Okay.
look like Kelly
Yeah.
and Megan yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Also, just so you know, we'll introduce Adrian a little more fully in a second.
Yes,
but
we will.
Adrian and I match each other often.
I think that's why you hired me.
Yeah,
basically.
it probably is. Yeah. So that will likely
It's already
be
happened
happening.
once.
It's happened
Many
more than
times.
once. Yeah.
In
It's
more
not happening
embarrassing
today because
circumstances.
the Vikings play tonight. But yeah,
Yeah.
Otherwise it probably would have happened. I also have camo pants. So
I think it's fun. But
Anyway.
I wore a hat so people could tell the difference between us.
right.
Joe, Jamie, who can say?
Well, you have facial
no
hair.
other distinctives.
I will never have facial hair, so that's another.
I have noticed that you two do dress alike. Your classic uniform is very similar, but you're more like earth tones, and
Okay.
you're more gray.
Yeah, gray, black.
Yeah.
That's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
It suits your skin.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Earth tones.
All right. So, Adrian, you're
Hello.
joining us for the very first time.
Yes, long time listener, first time sitting on the couch.
Yes. Can you tell us a little about yourself and what brings you to Believers Pod?
Well, I'm new. I'm new to the staff. I have been a longtime fan of Believers Church. Was introduced to Jesus in a relationship capacity here
That's so cool.
back in 2006. Have an anniversary coming up. My husband has been active duty Navy for a long time, so we were here and very plugged in until 2016, and then Navy business took us to Arizona, which, shock, no ocean there. No,
Yeah.
No ocean.
I think there's Navy and Coast Guard that have a decent presence
Yeah,
there.
the training school at the Army installation.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah, Fort
Okay.
Huachuca in Sierra Vista,
Okay.
Southeast Arizona. He did his final shore tour there, retired, and we loved it so much that we stayed for a bit, but miss the people, miss our friends, miss the weather, ? With some exceptions. So we came back, we landed, we're in Ghent now, on the first day of October, which it was very weird. It was very, like I said, we're going to sell this house and we will be back in Hampton Roads by the end of September. And we closed on the house on the 27th. Like the things lined up in a, what you doing kind of way. And so we've been back and got plugged into serving with next gen students immediately, joined a B group. Shout out to Friends in Faith, Mark and Jamie Rouse. That's the best B group on the menu right now. And there are 2 spots available.
Hot take.
If you would like to.
All
I'm
right.
here for the controversy, okay?
Okay.
And on a lark, I applied for the weekend experience director job. I have been an instructional designer for a really long time, which people don't know a lot about what that is, but basically creating training materials that are engaging and dynamic and equip people to do their jobs super well. And I love that work. It's very visual. It can be very beautiful. It can connect people to their content and each other. And so I felt like I don't know nothing about working in ministry, but maybe they would be open to trying that out. So yeah, I've been on staff for, I think this is my 10th day. I got in trouble. No, it doesn't. I did not expect to be so confused by the Sunday through Thursday work week. I have gotten in trouble for working on things outside of business hours and asking for feedback on things outside of business hours.
Who scolded you for that?
Yeah, if you want to have non-scolding, send it my way. Okay. I'm working all the time. Yeah.
I do. Whenever I send a message, I do see your dot turn green, and I think,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, guilty.
Yeah. And I did get in trouble for walking through a hub event.
Oh, did you?
Yes, sir. You will learn that I am Trey Styles, telling on myself before anybody else has an opportunity to say,
I like
need
that.
to talk about
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
But I'm delighted to be here.
Well, in only 10 days, so ambitious, like so many ideas already and everything. So I just like, she's so calm right now. You hear this very soft-spoken voice. That's not what the last 10 days have been.
I have many different ways that I present myself.
Okay. This is your pod. Okay.
Well, I'm trying it out. Jeremy will tell me later.
Trying it out.
Jeremy will tell me later if it's
He
good or
probably
not
wants you to
good.
speak up a little bit.
Oh.
Yeah.
How's this?
That's not any louder. That's just
How's
closer.
this?
There you go. There you go.
It sounds like I've got an exclamation point on everything.
Yeah,
Is
we
that
should-
what we
yeah,
want?
uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Love compliments from Jeremy. It makes my day. I think I've said enough about that.
All right. So, what did you guys do this weekend? Jamie, did you have an exciting weekend?
I did have an exciting weekend. It was a everyone knows that you
have a boring weekend.
I have
life?
a boring life, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yes. So I had two longer and fun type of events on one day.
What?
Which for me is a lot.
Packing it
I
light.
packed my Saturday.
Nice.
So snowstorm Friday. Right.
Right.
Remember that time?
Lizard.
Yeah, so we're supposed to have leadership development program, LDP, on Saturday morning. It's the first one of this new session.
So, pause. Can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, so LDP is, it's only the second time we've run it. So the first time I ran it was 3 years ago, right about. And after that one, which was really good,
You brought on 3 staff members.
and
out
4
of-
elders
Yeah.
out of that LDP. So that was pretty solid. So it's leadership development. The idea is to try to create and be intentional about creating a healthy leadership culture at Believers Church.
Yep.
That's the purpose of LDP. And eventually I would love to have like all of our leaders have gone through it because it gives us common language and common ideas. And so first one of this session, snow, and I'm already getting texts from people like, are we meeting? And I'm like, all right. So I put it in there, like I'm from upstate New York. Pretty sure I'm
shame.
not canceling.
The shame message.
Yeah. So if, but also being sensitive. Like if you feel like it's safer for you to stay home. No worries. You big sissies. And then, I didn't say that. So I left the house early on Saturday morning, drove around the neighborhood, went down the highway.
The big
did
question
exit
is, did
ramp.
you drive to Doug's neighborhood?
I did not drive to Doug's neighborhood, but I drove in lots of different areas just to kind of get a feel, and it was totally fine. So
Okay.
I got here, sent another message, said,
I've tested
I've
all
tested
your
all the
routes.
roads. You can make it. And
I
everyone
will
made it but
see.
a couple, and one was because of the snow, but I think they got called into work around the snow.
Yeah.
So, it was a really good Saturday. It's about 3 hours long. There was quite a buzz yesterday
Yes.
around
Yes.
it. I had several people come
I
up to
talked
me.
to a
and-
few of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're super jazzed about even the very first session.
Yes.
So that was very cool. It was a great day. And then I went home, studied a little bit for Sunday, and then that evening had an elder social function, which we don't do very often. I'm not very socially inclined. And so I said to our team, if we're going to do something fun, someone needs to plan it.
Right.
And so a couple of them took it as a task, and we had a great time. We went to the Lamont's home and played minute to win it games and had good food, and it was great.
I was supposed to ask you, were you on the winning team?
Uh-oh.
Man,
The face.
I don't know who set you up for that, but no, I was not on the winning team.
Okay.
And I played 2 minute to win it games and lost them both.
Oh, no.
Very disappointed. I was so confident
Can you
on one of
describe
them.
your games?
One game was a popsicle stick, and you had to stack 5 dice up, which I did immediately. But then you had to hold it for a minute. I could not hold
Wiggles.
it for an entire
Oh.
minute. So I feel like I might have should have won that one.
Yeah.
So the second one though was stack of cups, and it was me and Martin Burke, and we had to use little rubber bands to knock over the pyramid of cups. And I thought for sure I was going to do that in 10 seconds. And
You're a sharpshooter.
I am
Trained.
Army's
Yes.
Marksman.
certified, trained, yes,
Uh-huh.
infantry guy, expert marksman.
Yeah.
And I was not doing so great with the rubber bands.
Oh, no.
It was very disappointing.
Martin beat you?
beat me. Yes.
Like
Yep.
by a long shot, or was it
Oh
tight?
no, it was pretty
Shot.
by,
I see what you
by
did
quite a
there.
bit. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was.
Nice dad joke drop there.
But to be fair, Martin Burke walks around with rubber bands on his wrist, so I think he practices
Oh.
all the time.
Wait, does he for real?
He does for real. He's got several of those what would Jesus do kind of things.
Oh, yeah.
But he also had a rubber band on there. So I was like, okay, well, this is a lifestyle thing for you. So,
or in
brought his-
cahoots with the Le Mans.
Yeah.
And what games.
so
he
yeah.
did.
Anyway,
Yeah.
He
our
brought
team
his own
lost,
rubber band.
and that's just
Okay.
gotta own
All
it.
right.
Yeah. But it was
Joe,
very
how was
fun.
your weekend?
It was great. Mine will be short. I just
Okay.
want to shout out to the planning schedule for around football, because we have 5 straight days of playoff football, college
Yeah.
and NFL. So I did nothing.
So that's what you did.
That's what I did.
All right.
Hung out with my kids during the day, watched football by night.
All
I
right.
watched
5 days.
hours of Meekum Auto Auction also.
Okay.
Afternoon.
Yeah.
I could watch that all day
I
long.
know.
I love that.
Yeah. Jeremy over there is really happy because
Yep.
Ohio State won.
Yeah.
It was a great game.
It was a
OH.
great game.
Yeah.
IO, my best.
He said IO in the background for everyone who cares and is listening. Adrienne, did you do anything fun this weekend?
Fun isn't the right word,
Okay.
but I did stuff.
Were you
Exciting
productive?
stuff. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
After in my 4th attempt, the DMV.
Oh man.
I have a driver's license now
Nice.
and plates for my vehicle.
Uh-huh.
Some fun conversations, made some new best friends, talked
Nice.
fashion, and also about how Arizona issues their driver's license for 50 years.
50 years.
50 years.
Yes, when I was filling out
Wait,
her
Yeah.
when I was filling out her onboarding paperwork, I had to look at her driver's license and I was like, this doesn't expire
What?
for 50
Yeah, when you
years.
when you
For real?
turn 65,
Wow.
you have to get a new one, and it's cool up
That
until
is-
then.
that's amazing.
16 to 65.
Yeah,
you can
that's
also
incredible.
purchase
Wow.
firearms if you're 18 from Walmart with no
yeah.
license and all the things.
mean, it's the
Carry
Wild West.
concealed. Yes, it really is.
Yes.
It really and truly is.
I love that.
So that was great. Stopped in at Baker's Crust
Mm-hmm.
in Norfolk on Friday afternoon. Food was great, but man, what a nice. Just the people are so kind in there.
Nice.
It is not an every afternoon place. If you catch my drift, the budget is unsupportive.
Yeah.
But for a special occasion, put that to the top of the list.
Nice.
And then the rest of my free time I have spent putting primer on the kitchen walls of my beautiful tiny house because wallpaper is going on this week. And I did learn something and I want to share it with you.
Okay.
The original Kills is an oil-based.
Oh.
Oh, that might be my wallpaper is texting me right now. I'm doing a faux pas and I'm receiving text messages. I'm so sorry. Yeah, so very fumey last night and feel definitely that I'm closer to death today than I was yesterday.
Wow.
So look for the kills 2.
Kills.
Yeah, well, yeah. Original kills.
Yeah, right.
Is the takeaway.
Yep. I had a
Nice.
DMV appointment on Friday, and I was in and out in 10 minutes.
Really?
Yeah, got a title, license plate.
Did you make an appointment?
I did.
Did you go to the Norfolk office on?
No, I went to the one over here in
No.
B-Town.
Who would do that? Yeah. 4 times. I'm a dummy.
You got stuff for your new motorcycle.
I did. Yep. I'm waiting for it to arrive, but I am ready for it.
So
It is
exciting.
insured. It is titled. It is registered.
It's just not here.
It's just not here.
Oh, boy.
It's in a trailer in a very snowy driveway
Yes.
right now. So
That's
yeah.
so great. All right. Well, you guys, we are on to our Bible reading challenge. We spent a lot of time in the first part of Luke this week.
We did.
And then today we were in Psalm 6 and 7. So did anything stand out to you this week? Anything that you were left pondering over a little extra?
So for me, it was today's reading in Psalm 6. And I think the reason is most of our worship songs are very hopeful and which
Yeah.
is good. Another miracle's coming, all these, believe, receive,
Yes.
all all these great things. We're on the verge
God,
of
you're awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you read this psalm where David, I'm pretty sure it's the
Yep.
Psalm of David. Yeah. David is calling out to God in faith and believing, and he's praising him and all that kind of stuff. But then he says, I am worn out from sobbing. All night I flood my bed with weeping, drenching it with my tears. My vision is blurred by grief. My eyes are worn out because of all my enemies. And just like this, there's tons of psalms where David is praising, but there are tons of psalms where David is lamenting his circumstances. And I think it's just good to be reminded that God was faithful to David in those moments as well as the giant topples over moments. And I think sometimes because of our hopefulness, because we're trying to push through things all of the time, sometimes maybe we neglect sometimes you just got to sit in sorrow, and God is still being faithful in those moments. And so it just struck me as a contrast to what the typical Christian message happens to be.
Yeah.
I love that even about Megan's prayer yesterday, coming out of the another one song and leading into just our time going into the message and stuff, just praying over that, the
Yeah.
truth of that reality for
Yeah.
a lot of people was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought in Psalm 6, I dug deep because I was thinking along the same lines of most of these Psalms are uplifting and everything, but here we're seeing David in agony. And some people believe it could have been from his circumstances. He had a lot going on, a lot of enemies after him and all this, but he also could have been lamenting of his sins. And that could have been part of that process. So I dug and read that in Proverbs 3. So in those moments when our circumstances are bad, or even when we're trying to lament of our sins, those are the easiest moments to feel like God is abandoning us. He's not there right now, and He is there through that as well. And we see that in Proverbs 3, which might be a spoiler alert because we're doing Proverbs as well. So I'm guessing that might be coming up in a couple weeks here. But it says, "My child, don't reject the Lord's discipline, and don't be upset when He corrects you. For the Lord corrects those He loves, just as a father corrects a child with whom He delights." So I thought that was really good because we shouldn't forget that God is with us and plays a massive role in correcting our sins. It's because it's life transformation. Otherwise, it's just us making behavior modifications. So I think we saw that and we learned that from David in this, that he immediately, after crying out, he immediately makes it known that God has heard his prayer and will help him through it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's really good.
And God wants to hear our messy mess.
Sure.
Yeah, He knows everything that we're thinking and feeling. And yes, sometimes we are mad at God. And it took me a really long time to figure out that tension in a relationship is part of a good relationship, and God wants all of the parts with us. So whatever we're working through, and even if we don't have the language that is referent, or I don't know, the hopeful language, like you can be mad in a prayer. You can talk to God about the things that you're upset about. And Psalm is a great model for that, and gives us the tools to do it when we don't have the words. You go to the front of the chapter or the front of the book, and in many study Bibles, it'll tell you the areas in which the prayers are categorized. So if you are in it and you need something, but you don't know what that is, go to one of those lament prayers that aligns with what you're dealing with, and just meditate on that.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So good. All right. Well, we are in week 2 of our Here for Good series. And this week it's all about impact teams, which is so exciting. So, Jamie, I love this message because you kind of started off talking about how everyone, no matter where we're at on our spiritual journey, everyone wants to be a part of something that matters, that's making a difference. So before being on staff, I would just love to hear what some of the impact teams are that you guys served on, and what did you love about them? And maybe it wasn't even here at Believers. I mean,
for me, it was not.
It was not.
I've not volunteered at Believers. I've been on staff the entire time. So I think the only church that I ever really served at was the church where I was in college, and I was there for my entire college time. Vienna Baptist Church in Pufftown, North Carolina.
Cool
name.
PFAFF town. I think it's been annexed by Winston-Salem now. I think it's part of
what a fun
Winston-Salem.
name.
But yeah, that's the church that Bonnie and I got married at. We were married in Pufftown, North Carolina. And I volunteered as the high school Sunday school teacher.
Okay.
And then I was a volunteer youth leader there for their youth group also. So I did that for about 3 years.
Yeah.
I can't picture it.
It was so much fun. I was much younger then, so I wasn't much older than the kids that I was leading, really. And I was relatively new to my faith also. I was only a few years into my faith journey. But yeah, I loved it. I loved those kids. I youth pastored here too for a few years. And some of my adult youth people still attend here,
still.
and
Yeah.
that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved that time, but that's also the time that I discovered I had a teaching gift. So I was asked, because I taught Sunday school, that was not so much the teaching gig, but the youth thing. Someone asked me to fill in for somebody, and so I did, and it went really, really well. And it started a whole thing for me that I had no idea was going to be a thing for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Add, Joey?
Yeah, my journey with Jesus over the past 8 years, my journey to staff here at Believers is all attributed to impact teams and B groups.
Hey.
And yeah, it didn't take long. It's so part of our DNA that it just felt like I was missing out on something. Not even a month coming here, so I jumped on student ministry. Back then, it was for real at our old church in Peak Trail. This guy over here, you can't see, but the guy producing the podcast, Jeremy, was the first person really I met, and
And you still stayed?
yeah,
That's my guy.
yeah. Look, when you first meet him, he's very. No, it was cool because it did when I first walked in that first Wednesday night. It did have like this kind of a clique feel, but not in the same way you see in culture. Like it was an inviting clique. Like I could tell these people were doing life together.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a part of it. So the fact that he was so welcoming and showing, I mean, we were up in the sound booth, up in the office, like showing me everything about it on night one. Really just, I dove right in from there. And then I will plug the other volunteering that I've done, which is camera work, because those out there, if you're listening, that was all from just my love of worship. I want to be as close to the music as I can possibly be. And I thought I'll just get on stage and do some camera work because I'm not a musician. You don't want to hear me sing or play an instrument. But as much as I don't know about the music world, I love spending time with our band and our production team. So don't let that side of the fence intimidate you at all. Like there's stuff you can do back there if you just love the worship. Here.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Adrian?
Yeah. Well, when I was coming up, I was involved in the way that your parent volunteers you to do. So I'm not going to count that.
Voluntold?
Yeah, voluntold, yes. But as soon as I was invited to Believers Church by a friend, a coworker, way back in the way back. And like I plugged into serving before I did anything else. And it was the way I felt most comfortable trying on Believers Church. I thought I would get a very authentic representation of what this whole thing is about. Can you guess where I was serving? They were there, so they didn't get to. You've known me for 10 whole days, so you should be able to figure it out.
He said kids.
Kids, yeah, for sure.
Was it?
Where? What age group?
Back in, great question. The babes?
No babies for me. I won't hold a
Or
baby until
elementary?
6 months.
I
I've
won't
offended
hold a
so
baby
many
until
new mothers, but that's another story for another time.
Oh, you were with For Real too, right?
Well,
You did that.
my toe was there because I had kids in my house who were
Okay.
invested in that. But kindergarten, first grade, and second grade.
Yeah.
Old enough to not be pooping in their pants, but still think that the tallest person in the room is the coolest person in the room.
That's a great
And-
description.
Well,
I love that.
and I went hard on that. And I served back there every Sunday, sometimes 3 times a Sunday when we were doing that crazy thing that one time.
4 services
Oh,
back in the day.
I can't picture that anymore
Right.
either.
Yeah.
It's
Me
too
neither.
wild. Like the math doesn't work, you
Right.
know? And, you know, I've been thinking about what do I love about it? And really the thing, it's what we talk about all the time. When you are obedient to God's calling, He blesses you. So whenever you serve, whenever you give, whenever you pray, whenever you meditate, whenever you worship, He is blessing us through those behaviors. And if you don't know what that's like, none of this sounds like anything practical to apply. But I can promise you that when you do that, it will change your very
Yeah.
posture.
Yeah.
And it gives you something to focus on that you know is important. We all have to have JOBs. It is a precious few who get to do the thing that fills them up from 9 to 5, Monday through Friday.
Yep.
Okay? And to know that the work you're doing, whatever that is here at Believers, is contributing to putting hell out of business.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It makes Monday through Friday easier.
Yep.
It makes your weekend amazing. It makes getting up at the crack on Sunday easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yep.
Like, how
Yeah.
much time you got? I can go on.
Yeah, that's good. Well, that leads right into like this thing that you brought up that is so important, the tension of, and what we would say is pushbacks, like
Yeah.
the time constraints, the inadequacies, like all of that stuff is legit. Like we wrestle with those things. Like, am I really good enough to do this thing that this serving area is asking of me?
Yep.
Can I show up and work with kids? Like I don't even know if kids will like me. Am I going to be the coolest one in the room? Like, you know, can I work a camera? I've never even held a camera before.
Right.
Like there's all these things that we start to question. And then, like you said on Sunday, like I serve all these other people in all these other different areas. I have a job that has all sorts of demands on my
Yep.
time and my responsibilities.
Kid stuff. All the
Yeah,
things.
all the
Yep.
things. And this past fall, we did the series Less is More.
Yeah.
That was such a great series. And we addressed a lot of things on how we scale back and that sort of thing. So, how do we find the sweet spot of not making excuses,
Yeah.
but then also not getting over scheduled?
Yeah, I mean, go back and listen to that series.
Yeah.
But I do think like those principles that we talked about in that series are so foundational to just like creating a thriving environment for yourself. And the discipline of saying no to busyness to make room for stuff that really matters is just so critical. And I think, I've talked about this for nearly 20 years. Like parents who get their kids engaged in every activity under the sun think they're doing a service for their children, but they're doing a disservice not only for their kids, but for their entire family. It's so like just being intentional about choosing those things that are most important. And I think really when it comes down to like serving at Believers, I guess I would say, like if you don't have an hour in a week,
You got a bigger problem.
or in an every other week rotation, you got bigger problems than we're going to be able to address in this pod, right? So, like the reality is, like most of the things, I'm not good enough or I don't know how. Like those are easily overcome. It's really more of that time constraint thing that I think people feel the tension around, and that one is just in our LDP on Saturday morning, one of the ladies talked about her struggle with people pleasing, and that's why she said yes to everything. And someone in her office gave her a framed sign that just said no, that she hangs on the wall. And I was like, I so resonated with that, as you would know. I'm a people pleaser, and
I'm Jamie's no person.
And she's my no person. I can't say no to anybody, so she says no for me. So I think like that's what it comes down to. You got to say no to some other things. Like if you can't find an hour or two in a 2-week cycle, then you've got some stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, and you spun the message yesterday to really paint the picture that we're not asking for something from you. We're trying to offer something for you. Yeah, and I think so. When you're
at the same time we're asking something from you, it provides something for you.
Yeah.
Yes,
and I think that provides a path to, if we're talking time constraints and stuff, you need to prioritize. Yeah. And so understanding the importance of what it offers you serving here, I think that that provides that path to rank it higher on your your priority list.
Yep.
But like call now. If you're like, even at all, that is the Holy Spirit being like, now's the time.
Yep.
Let the professionals on the Believers Staff Connection team do the hard part of finding where to put you. You only have an hour, that's fine. You tell us what you're comfortable with. If you don't know, just say, put me somewhere. I have this time in this window, and Tyler and Joey and everybody on that team, they are going to bend over backwards so you can have this experience that changes you from the inside out.
Yep, for sure. So the memory verse for this series is Galatians 6:9. Do you have it memorized, Jamie?
No, I don't have it memorized.
So let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up.
Yeah, I have like a JSV version of that in my head, but I don't have it
the
word
Jamie
for word.
Stewart version. Yes. We're going to write that Bible someday.
Oh, we definitely are. It's going to be epic.
It's going to be great.
It's also going to be full of heresy.
We should have started years ago and just
really
been blocking it, but we really missed the ball on that one.
We really did. Who knew I'd be doing this for so long?
We're going to have a lot of work to do. Yikes. Anyway, so following that is verse 10, shockingly, but it says, therefore, whenever we have the opportunity, we should do good to everyone, especially those in the family of faith.
Yes.
So talk to us a little bit about why that next passage is so important when it comes to this topic.
The serving others, especially, why is that important? Well, I mean, I think, I'm going to talk not this week, but the following week about the importance of like meeting needs in the community. And we are a community-facing church. That is so critically important. There's a couple things. One is, I think the basic thing is just when the church gathers, there are needs that are just naturally present. So I had someone talk to me yesterday on the way out, and they were like talking about other things that are also really great, like mowing people's lawns and fixing their gutters, and like they want to figure out how can I connect to people within my church family who need those kinds of things done, because I can do those kinds of things, which I love.
Yeah.
And I told them, come up with 10 ideas and give it to me, and we'll see what we can figure out. Like maybe there's a way we can make that happen on the regular. But even with that, I would say, like to that person, and I did say to that person, like, all that's really good. But I think when we gather, there are just basic needs that happen that I think, like, I need to have my kid cared for, and not just watched, but invested in.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the big thing that we do here. We don't just watch your kid; we invest in your kid. Or there's needs of being directed. Directing people to different places, and someone who's coming in new who doesn't really know what they're supposed to do, and giving them some direction on where they're supposed to go, and just all of these various things that happen just because there's a group of people who are gathered together. I think it's good to get in the rhythm of just like, if you're serving on an impact team, it's scheduled service requirements, like it gets you in the habit of regularly serving other people in small ways. Yeah, it's not big, heroic, replacing gutters and all the things, but they're just little simple things that create in you, I think, a posture towards looking at other people and looking for opportunities to meet needs that they have.
Yeah, I think the other side of that is when you're a part of these teams, you are building relationships.
For sure, yeah.
And so you're building these relationships and you start doing life with these people.
Very
And
early
so
church.
when those needs come up within the people that you're doing life with, and you find out that someone needs their gutter replaced, or someone needs a meal because they've had a hospitalization, or then you're also using these other gifts that you have to bless the people that you're doing life with.
Yep.
So it's not just that you're serving the body big picture wise,
Yeah, that's good.
but you're also serving each other in the team that you're serving with.
Yep.
Because you've become, you've got this other like little family that you're doing life with. So that's also the
that's
four
Yep.
that we have for you, is that you're not only like getting this, that's one of the added blessings, right? Is that you've got now this smaller group of people that gets to know who you are and gets to come alongside you too in times when you're facing things. It's like, oh, I've got these people that I'm meeting together every week, and they like get to know me and get to know what's going on in my world and get to celebrate things that I'm celebrating and get to walk through hard things that I'm walking through. And we get to serve together. Like it's not just the serving together. That's what's incredible.
Yeah, that's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you had this boomerang illustration.
Yeah, that was
Awesome.
fun, wasn't it?
Yes.
Very good.
Yeah.
And how do you feel like it went?
That was way better than any of my practice sessions.
Well,
so that
praise
was really
Jesus.
great. Yeah.
I
Practice
mean-
sessions were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I wonder
so-
what Lee was thinking.
You didn't
Like,
take anyone's head off.
Didn't take anyone's head up. I didn't lose it in the rafters, which happened a couple times when
Okay.
Yeah, so it was good.
All right. That's good.
Nothing was damaged.
nothing was damaged.
Yeah, and the crowd went wild.
Crowd
And the
did
crowd
go
loved it.
wild.
Yeah. It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So that set up our big idea for the week, which was when I help others, I help myself.
Yep.
The law of reciprocity, the helper's high, all of these things. So this is so relatable. It's a tangible. You can hold on to it. But do you think there are any feelings of selfish motivation behind this big idea?
Well, there is a little bit,
Yeah.
and I think that cooperates with how God has wired us. So you think through John Piper, who I'm not the biggest fan of, but he wrote a book years ago that was so good called Christian Hedonism, and the idea was like the pursuit of what God has for us is actually good for us. Like, we should be Christian hedonists. We should go after the things that God has for us because they're actually going to create we're going to thrive because of it.
Yeah.
So, you think about Jesus saying, if you lose your life, like if you sacrifice, you save it. There's all these things that are baked into the teachings of Jesus that go back to this thing that I think he's wired us for, so like the pursuit of eternal life, there's heaven after we die, there's rewards in heaven, there's crowns that we get, there's jewels in the crown, there's there's all of these different things that we get to experience that are kind of motivation enticing things that I think that's kind of how we wired us. So it is a little bit on the self-serving side, but the emphasis is also on if I help others, I help myself. And if you leave out the first half of that and it's just I help myself, well, then you're going to miss out on all of the benefits that you can't. If your goal is I'm going to help myself, then you lose all the benefits, really. Mm-hmm. So that's the thing that makes this paradox so, I think, so compelling is like when I'm helping someone else, I'm actually helping someone else, and then I happen to reap some benefits from that. If I only help myself and I don't help someone else, then I really don't help myself, and no one gets helped. So it's like all or nothing, I think.
Yeah. Paradise.
There is
word.
room to get carried away there, though, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm going to be moving in 3 weeks, so what can I do to manipulate my people to be available? Well, I'll send cookies over there and stuff like that. But, I mean, who's got time for that kind of thing? It's more of a reinforcement of the promise, right?
Yeah.
Like, we highlight the promises, God's promises, the fruit of the Spirit, the reaping and the sowing. Like, that's all just to remind us of what's way down there.
Yep.
Why we should trust that what we do in this time is contributing to what happens at the end of the game.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll say I think there's room for a little bit of selfish motivation behind it because of what's at stake. Like for me, I didn't, and I'll say this too. Like when I'm helping others, until you like start studying it, I didn't even think about like how it could be helping me. I just did it because I wanted to help others.
Right.
But it changed my life. The people that formed into my core that helped me through such a rough season of life were all because I started like volunteering, started serving. So the boomerang effect in my life changed my life. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, if we're asking this question, I think there's a little bit of room for
oh man,
yeah, because it can change your life.
And that reminds me of how overwhelming it can be when people do rally around you.
Yeah.
Like you do a tiny thing, you do a tiny bit, and people are willing to drop everything and come and support you and assist you in whatever way you need. And that, like even just thinking about that, not even a specific incident for me, but just thinking about the reality of that every time, humanity is good. There's so much to still be hopeful for in people and our culture, in spite of the things that are the loudest around us right now.
Yep.
Yeah. So good. So Jesus modeled this for us. I mean, he modeled it in perfect humility. And you brought up our verse from last year, Matthew 20:28a, for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others. And then even through death on the cross, and Philippians 2:5-8, you must have the same attitude that Christ Jesus had. Though he was God, he did not think of equality with God as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to God and died a criminal's death on a cross. And Jamie, I loved just how you walked through that passage yesterday, like even your physicality on stage with that, and like just positioning yourself. And I don't know, there was just something the way that you talked through that yesterday was so powerful to me. So yeah, I think when we start thinking of that takes on a whole different view. That helps us see that selfish motivation. It like lowers that, right? When it's done with humility, I think it removes that piece of it. It doesn't feel selfish. Maybe it brings
transactional.
It brings like we're modeling. If the goal is to be, like you said, more Christ-like, to be following after Jesus, then that's the attitude. That should be the motivation that we're having. It's not this like self-serving thing. So you asked us to imagine what different areas of ministry would look like if they were filled with Impact Team members. And I think many people come on campus and have the impression that all of our teams are full and functioning. I mean, because the reality is we want that for our guests as they're coming on campus. Like, we want for people to come onto campus and feel like the machine is working. Like, we don't want people to come here and feel like
What a hot
we've got
mess.
holes everywhere, right?
Yep.
But is that true? Like, do we have room for people to come onto our teams? Because, people just might not understand
Sure.
that we do have room if we do.
Yep.
In every
Love
area.
this question.
Yeah.
In every area.
Can people get in the game?
Yes.
That's the question.
Yeah. So not only can they, so like, yesterday we do an evaluation, of course, of every week. And one of the things that came up from yesterday's evaluation was there weren't enough people serving in the cafe in the second service, which created some problems. And so, even the most visible, basic, things are not fully staffed, not even close. Our goal is to have more greeters at each of the entryway. Oftentimes, we only have one on each side because there just aren't enough. One of our team members brought up this idea, and I love the idea. I don't know why it hadn't crossed my mind before, but we greet people coming in, but then we let people just leave on their own without having people standing there
See
saying,
yourself out.
Yeah, see yourself out instead of having people standing
Yeah.
at the door
See
saying,
you
"Thanks for
next
being here.
week."
We'll see you next
Yeah.
week." How great would
Yep.
that finish of the day be at a church?
15 minutes at the end of the service you attend.
So there's a team that doesn't even exist that needs to exist. The parking team that I cast
Oh my
vision
gosh.
for used to exist, but hasn't existed in years.
Yesterday, there was almost a collision in the roundabout. Someone was going in reverse, 3 miles an hour.
People on roundabouts, don't get me started.
This
We're talking about impact teams, guys.
Sorry,
not
sorry, sorry.
roundabouts. Thank you.
separate pod.
So like a parking team is so valuable for so many reasons. Not only for the logistics of parking, which if you're a regular and you call Believers home and you have the ability to drive up on grassy spots to park, please do that over in across the little roundabout way, so that we can make room in the paved parking lot for other folks. But having people direct that would be super helpful. And not only having people direct that, but having people getting out of their cars with someone who's there welcoming them to the campus is just a great first impression. And that the goal in all of these various things that we're doing is to move people in their faith journey. So it's not just a greeting. It's not like if people come in and they feel like, man, I've been well received, I've been recognized. We had the story not that many months ago where Kelly Rutherford had someone came in and she gave them a smile, and she was like, that was the only smile that she had seen in a week. And it just blew her away. Just a smile at a door, So you just don't know what people are coming in with or driving onto campus with. And so all of those experiences are just small ways that we can show kindness, love, concern, and be Jesus to people. And so, there's so much room. In fact, if we doubled the amount of volunteers that we had right now, we have 220-ish on any given Sunday, serving in various places. I would venture to say if we had 440, we could find a place for everyone.
Yep.
Yep.
Joe, you
Yeah,
think
for
that's
sure.
true?
I think that's, absolutely true. He touched on a lot of the areas of needs that we have. So the one thing I'll say, though, is people might not know this, but back in Next Gen, where your kids are, where all of our kids are, they have ratios they have to meet. So it needs to be one volunteer for every X amount of kids. And so every week, you also have this, it doesn't matter how many people are on the team. Every week, you're going to have X amount of people call out, say, the normal life stuff. So it doesn't mean everybody shows up every single week that they're supposed to serve. And so to meet those ratios and stuff, sometimes they have to combine classrooms, shut down classrooms. We've had to tell families, you can come watch over here in this room with your kids because this area is shut down now. We don't have enough volunteers.
Yeah.
So the Next Gen area is huge back there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that we have lots of opportunity, and the best thing is the more impact team members we get, then the more flexible we are too with how often you're serving.
Yeah.
So that means like, oh yeah, if you can only serve once a month or you can only serve, then that becomes even more doable because we have more people to be able to carry the load, right?
Yep.
So yeah, we have plenty of opportunities. We want to get you plugged in so you can find out how you can do that on our app and on our website. You can click on the connect button there, and that'll give you all the information. And then Joe and Tyler will follow up with you and get you plugged into the place that you want to get connected to. And if you don't know, they'll also help you figure all that out. So there's no reason to wait. Get started today. But that is all the time we have for the pod. We hope that we'll see you on campus this Sunday as we continue our Here for Good series. We're going to be on campus at 9 and 10:45. You can also catch us on our YouTube channel at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Thanks for being here, friends. Go and be love.